is the kid, and Mr. In Between.
Welcome, my friends and enemies. Glad you were here. Matt was not paying attention, but it's all good. We got with us Inquisitor Sage, paying attention as always. We have Inquisitor Terminatus. I hope I said that right.
Yep.
Okay.
Because I want to terminate New Jersey.
Well, New Jersey will terminate itself. Yeah. That was terrible. My voice can't work with that today. We have 3 topics today, and I don't think they're aware of them. So, surprise, surprise, this is going to be more of a philosophical episode or video or whatever. So I guess we'll just jump into the first one. But before we get started, because I always forget, please like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you want to do. Comment something, even if it's hate. I don't care. It all helps with the algo. I would also recommend you support different companies and websites and stuff like DEG Mods. If you are a gamer and you use mods, use DEG Mods instead of Nexus Mods, and support more freedom of speech and allowing the player to have control over what they play on their games. That's a fun one. I am not sponsored by them. I just like them. So there you go. And the other one was I'm drawing a blank. This congestion's really killing me. Wow. This is embarrassing. I always forget. Meta PCs. Support Meta PCs. They support free speech and our side of the YouTubes. I am not sponsored by them either. I don't get nothing from them. I just, again, like them. But you can use different codes like 199 or whatever you want to. If you go check out Geeks and Gamers, you'll get more ad reads that are professional and not brain dead like mine. So, there you go. Stuff I wanted to say at the beginning because I always forget. I'll try to remember. I'll probably do it at the end anyway, but whatever. Hopefully this will be a quick and shorty type of an episode / video. I don't know why I'm calling it episode. This isn't a podcast necessarily. But our first victim is this lovely image. So
I guess that's technically true.
it's very zoom in, so I apologize for the lack of quality in that regard. It just kind of looks nasty. But this is a question that I wanted to ponder on, and I wanted your guys' opinions because I agree and disagree with this statement. And I'm wondering if you do as well. So, your thoughts, Mr. Sage.
I mean,
this is in reference to video games, of course.
Right?
Huh?
I mean, it's just correct. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say here.
What is the comment in reply to?
I don't know. This was used more in reference to the control, like a player being in control.
If you have a controller and you press a button, then you choose to...
You have a 50-50 chance of it actually doing what you tell it to do.
You're about to do Steiner math? Is that what's going to happen here?
No.
Well, I mean, maybe you don't have.
No, I've had times where I've spammed buttons and the character does not respond.
Okay, maybe I'm not getting the reference.
But you shouldn't spam buttons.
Is this a specific reference or something, or just a
no?
Generic?
It's a generic comment. I don't even think this is new. This is probably even old.
Okay, so as a PC gamer, that is the preferred way to be able to reconfigure your buttons and everything.
Think about like a lot of the stuff, and maybe this is just me being super deeply philosophical because that's just how my mind operates. But imagine being able to, you pick up your controller or something and you're pushing buttons, you're doing your stuff, and you control the buttons you are pushing. Yes, I think this was mostly in reference to the Baldur's Gate 3 stuff with the bear. So people are like, what, you support games with bear sex? And it's like, but you have to like go out of your way to get
I get
to
what you're saying. So this is more like you choose to play the game.
Well, not just you choose to play the game, it's how you choose to play the game. You control, like when you're playing Baldur's Gate 3, all the horny bros and horny waifus or whatever
Okay,
that are
so
trying to get in your pants immediately, you can tell them off.
okay, so
You can even have them killed. There's a lot of things you can do.
Again, we're not talking absolutes here. I think we all agree that like there are no moral absolutes in the sense of.
There's moral objectivism, but there's
I
also
wouldn't even
moral.
say that much, but
Well,
there are
I
rules.
would, but I have reasons for that, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, I mean, like for example, the commandment for is thou shalt not commit murder. It's not thou shalt not kill,
Yes,
right?
correct.
So, in other words, if we're an absolute, it'll be thou shalt not kill, meaning under no circumstances kill.
That's not how I understand absolutes. Absolutes, I mean, would be like if you say thou shalt not murder, it's an absolute that murder is always wrong. That's an absolute.
Well, no, but that's a different argument. What I'm saying is,
I know that's what I'm saying. I'm explaining that's how I understand absolutes. So when you say an absolute,
I get
that's what I'm
you're
understanding.
saying, right? And I would agree with you. That's a type of absolute.
Yes.
Well, I didn't mean it in the way you're saying it.
Yes.
What I mean is when you consider all homicides, right? And the commandment is thou shalt not commit murder versus thou shalt not kill. It's saying on one level that not all homicides are sins or evil, right? So that's what I mean. Okay? So when you get to this point here, let's as an engineering student, we learn that the way to examine any concept is you have to pick absurdly extreme like data points to see how the algorithm behaves. And if you don't get the reference to that, if you're testing a circuit, you don't want to test it in its standard operating voltage and power levels. You want to push the current to the max or the minimum. You want to push the voltage to the max or the minimum and see what happened on those extremes, right? So with this sort of concept, right, most games, even if it involves bear sex, as long as adults are doing it, live and let live, right?
Well, I mean, that is a point, and I would argue, I would not be a person who would be like, "Yay, bear sex," but my point has always been specifically with the Baldur's Gate 3 thing is Baldur's Gate 3 is Dungeons and Dragons. There's an ongoing joke in Dungeons and Dragons and probably Pathfinder and any tabletop RPG game that the bards sleep with everything that moves and some things that don't move. Like that's just bards. Like sleeping with the bear, sleep with the dragon, sleep with the maid, sleep with the tavern wench, sleep with whoever.
Well, that's a running joke from the game.
It is, but that's what I'm saying is it's Baldur's Gate 3 is literally Dungeons and Dragons. So when you're going in, you have the freedom of choice. There is a limit of freedom of choice to it, obviously, because you can only program so many options. Only when AI can like make a constant going game can that actually change. But that's probably like 100 years in the future, or not more. But my point is like, for somebody to go out and say, "Oh, well, Baldur's Gate 3 is woke," or "It's this," or "It's that," it's like, no, it's not woke. It's giving you options. If you're into that kind of a thing, like having sex with a bear, you can do it. If you are not into that thing, you can easily avoid it.
That circles around to a concept I've called woke derangement syndrome. If you've heard me say that before, right? Woke derangement
WDS.
syndrome. Yeah, WDS.
Where everything is woke by everything.
No. Where we're so triggered by woke that now we think things that are not woke are woke. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've been trying to pull away from that myself. I'm only going to call it woke if it's blatantly woke.
Well, I'll give you the number one example that people went crazy for, right? Okay. So in the horrible new seasons of Doctor Who that aren't really Doctor Who with Dr. Jodie.
Right? Oh, no.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking
about Dr. Jodie, because this is one of her episodes. They had Isaac Newton in one of the episodes, right? Now, we know that Isaac Newton historically is a native-born Englishman, okay? So they put a character in there who was visibly not English.
Well, they use an actor that is not visibly
But English. It turns out the actor is half native-born English. He's just half Indian. So I pointed this out
when you present somebody, you're presenting of the time and of the average. Or if there's an actual depiction.
See, argument is, if you're going to be strict about can people of only people of that ethnicity play that ethnicity, and the guy is at least half the ethnicity, you cannot say you cannot have him play Isaac Newton. So to me, that was an example of woke derangement syndrome, where people went crazy over it when it wasn't an example of. Now they were doing it to be woke. Don't get me wrong, okay? But we gotta be selective with this stuff. Like you can't oh what was there was a great you can't try okay okay so one of my all time favorite book trilogy is called the Riddle of Stars or the Riddle Master of Head by Patricia McKillop. You guys should go read it. Written in the '70s, and she's one of the all-time fantasy authors. And one of the points of the Riddle Master is that they hide magic in riddles. Okay, so you understand the logic of it, and it's more complicated than that. But that's basically to do magic. They hide the training techniques to do magic in riddlery. Okay, so just bear that in mind. And one of the riddles is about a guy who got trapped in a house with no walls or doors or any way out because he was hunted by a nameless thing that was chasing him all the time, and he was afraid of it. So afraid of it, he trapped himself forever. Right. So that's what we got to avoid with this woke stuff. We got to avoid trapping ourselves
or non-woke stuff.
Yeah, you know what I mean. We gotta like don't get so over the top with woke that we trap ourselves in a house made of solid concrete with no walls, with no windows or doors or way out of it.
I mean, technically, the guy would suffocate not too long after, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I get what people say when they think woke because they think, oh, somebody who enjoys bestiality is clearly woke. Well, first off, it's a druid, but in bear form. But I'm just like, I don't care what somebody chooses. The thing is Baldur's Gate 3 does not tell you to play a certain way. It's not like Dragon Age, whatever that freaking crappy one is called, where it's literally just feeding you lines from DEI or something. It's not anything like that. It's literally just play as you want. And people are like, what? You let people in your D&D games have sex with bears? I'm like, if they freaking have a storyline that demands they have to for some freaking weird reason, go for it. It's a freaking game. It's imaginary world. It's not real.
You know how, I mean,
I don't care.
But I'm an old man now, so this will apply when I was much younger. Like in World of Warcraft, when a druid's informed and you're with your girlfriend, so to speak, how many times people RP like druid bears doing it? You know,
I have no idea because I'm not in that side of the world.
No, but what I know, I mean, like people engage in sex play like through video games all the time. You know,
some do it in freaking TTRPGs.
Yeah, but back to this. I don't know why the fuck it's all about bears now. Like I heard the thing about each about.
Well, it's like if a freaking I've seen games TTRPGs where the bard has to seduce a demon lord or a dragon, and it's like nobody gets upset about that. But as soon as you're like, oh my gosh, I had sex with the bear, that's actually a druid, which again, it's weird, but it's imaginary story in a made up fictional world. They're not trying to shove it down your throat. They're not preaching to you. They're literally just saying you could have a character, and they're like, well, you could have a woman with a penis or a man with a vagina and boobs, and it's like because they literally gave you the best character customization you could possibly have. It's literally make whatever freaking weird amalgamation, make a brand new species, do whatever you freaking want to do, and it's that simple. And it's like, leave it alone. But when somebody says, oh, well, Baldur's Gate 3 is all about bear sex, it's like, you control the buttons you press. The only way you get to the bear sex is because you're actively looking for it. You're actively going for it. Like, ooh, I want to sleep with the druid, or I want Asterion, or whatever. I can't remember his name. Asterion, I think. I want him to sleep with the druid. The druid's going to turn into a bear. It's like, well, why not a freaking bird? Why not a lizard? Like, it doesn't freaking matter. It's just, it's what they put in the game. And if you don't want it,
the bear is actually housing.
Is what? Oh. Gay.
It's the druid, not the Asterion, and that's the vampire guy.
No. I'm saying Asterion was in the clip with the bear.
Okay.
Asterion was sleeping with the bear. I thought the druid was a girl, but okay, if that's a guy, that's even worse. But either way,
Wow. But as it says, maybe you control the buttons you press, right?
Maybe the druid turned into a female bear. Who knows? But
I don't think that works.
Why wouldn't it? Knows? If you're a druid, you're picking the body you want to be in. But either way, you control the buttons you press. So if you get to that result, that's the result you get. I don't know why we're still talking about Baldur's Gate 3 like that, because I'm pretty sure that the percentage of people who got to the bear scene is minuscule, possibly not even at a single percentage. because you have to go out of your way to get it. So, in that regard, I agree. You control the buttons you press. The part I kind of philosophically disagree with is that the buttons I press are limited in options to what I can do in the overall world. So if I want to do something, I can't actually do something because the buttons are limited by the coding, the programming, and everything. But that's just a philosophical thought for me. But yeah, this topic about Baldur's Gate 3 is still popping up, and it's still annoying. Go figure.
Well, but that's in terms of those of us in, like, I'm not into the games anymore as you guys are, right? So, but those
You
of us who
should be.
in, it's just I can't physically sit in. If I could sit more comfortably longer, I would play video games still. I just
That's fine.
anyway, like, but those in the gaming area, there's always going to be those critical points of inflection with stories involved that we'll go back to and revisit 10 years later, if nothing else, to tell newbies about it. Like, I'll give you a different example. This is an infamous thing that happened in World of Warcraft, right? Literally, it was the first or second year that we were doing it when PvP was like out of control. And
PvP's always out of control. It's PvP.
no, you had to play back in like the day. Anyway, so they had the Horde had an in-game funeral for a player who died in real life. Do you know what we did as the Alliance? We raided it. You know?
Wow. Talk about an irreverent, man.
You know?
I had
And
a
then
buddy
there's
who
the other one.
I played games with that he died, and I stopped playing Guild Wars
Then
1
there's the
because
other
of it.
one, which was the infamous story from back then, which was the level 100 druid before they nerfed everything and compressed everything, versus the millions of level 1 gnomes
Some weird combos.
in PvP. And you can find videos. Oh, the one everyone knows about. What's that? Leroy Jenkins. You know?
Leroy
Yeah.
Jenkins.
Yeah.
I think that
Those
just
are
turned like 20 years
so
old the other day. That was
But
freaking
so
weird.
let's say I was playing Warcraft with a new Pearl player. I might say, hey, there was this cool story that happened 10 years ago, or whatever, with a druid versus a million little gnomes, or whatever. You know, like it's the lore of the field. The same way if you were like going to church and you tell the new kid, hey, when Bobby was an altar boy, he accidentally set his stole on fire when he was trying to handle the candle. You know, like there's every group occurrence, right? This is, you know, okay. It's like one thing leads to another. You guys ever heard of Joseph Campbell, The Power of Myth?
No.
So he wrote. He's a historian, I think, by trade, and he wrote a lot of scholarly work on mythology and legends and their origins. And you can find a PBS documentary back when PBS was good called The Power of Myth, and he was very influential for George Lucas and Star Wars. Okay, and one of the things he explained, which others obviously, but he was famous for it, is every group occurrence of humans that lasts long enough generates stories which could become legends, which become myths, right? So the Leroy Jenkins story is more in a legendary status now because no one knows unless you were there what the original Leroy Jenkins story was, right?
Or if you
And
watch
then
the YouTube video.
imagine if people playing World of Warcraft in 2075 or whatever. I don't have a grandkid, but I had a grandkid. He'd be saying, "My grandpa told me about Leroy Jenkins back when he introduced me to the game." You know what I mean? If it lasts that long, it'll become a myth.
Yeah.
You know. So these sort of the bear in Baldur's Gate is now a legendary story that people keep bringing up over and over again. You know?
But it's still stupid though because they keep saying like this is woke, that's woke. I'm like, it's not woke. Like some people actually think the games are woke because it just has a female protagonist. I'm like, Tomb Raider is not woke because it has a female protagonist. It's
Well, that would be
never
woke
been woke
That's
until the
woke
new
derangement
stuff.
syndrome.
Yeah, that's my point. Is that's a common thing, and I see multiple groups, and you probably have seen them too if you're on X. That have they're on our side, so to speak, like they're anti-Marxist and everything.
Well, I'll give you
But
another
they
example.
also they split off from us during the Goonergate thing because everything that has a female in it that's attractive is Goonergate material or Gooner material, and then if anything that has whatever the case might be, and they're the guys who are always constantly saying this is woke, that's woke, and I'm like, guys, these aren't woke. They're not examples of wokeness. Dragon Age, the Veil Guard, that was woke because it had blatant stuff in it. It was blatantly preaching to you. It removed your choices. You couldn't do what you wanted to do. Excuse me.
Well, I'll give you another example.
That's woke content because that's the story. That's the entirety of it. Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't have that. It's lacking in all those areas. It just gives you options.
Yeah.
I want games to give me more options, not less options. Now you can have a classic RPG game where maybe it's like Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic or something, and you could pick a male or a female, and then all the stats that go with them is male or female because in that universe, if you're a human, you're a man or a woman. If you're this alien like a Twi'lek, you're a man or you're a woman because that's the boundaries of the universe. You wouldn't put in female Twi'leks with penises because that's not part of the universe.
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons doesn't have that limitation as far as I'm aware. Like at any point in time, another plane of existence could pop in and then boop, now you have weird.
Yeah.
Well, that depends on the
depending on the version of the game, sure.
Well, like I said, it depends. D&D's kind
Well,
of broad.
all...
Like D&D's even transcended just the setting, and it's kind of become a thing where, like, if you create your own world, it's still D&D. If you're playing Pathfinder, it's technically still D&D.
But, like there are different settings within.
I know. I'm saying that D&D is kind of like when your grandma goes into GameStop and says, "I'm looking for the latest Nintendo." She's talking about the PS5, but all she knows it's called is Nintendo. That kind of a thing.
Well,
so when somebody says, "Hey, you want to come over play D&D?"
With regards to Baldur's Gate, right? It's
literally set in that realm. Yes.
You know what older people call copying Xeroxing?
Sorry, what?
In America, all older people
Xerox
call
is a printer
something,
company.
Xeroxing it.
Yeah, it's Xerox is a printer company.
Xerox is the first company that made like a photocopy machine in the U.S.
So, and for photocopying for you young European people is when you take a piece of paper, stick it on the glass, and it prints out exactly what you put in.
but I'll give you another example from literature. Any of you guys ever read the Honor Arrington books?
Nope.
So they're military sci-fi, and they've been David Weber is the author. If you're
is it Weber or Weber?
I would pronounce that name Weber because I knew someone in real life who pronounced it that way.
Is it 2 E's 1 B?
It's 2 E's 1 B. Yeah,
it's Weber.
But in real life, I knew people with that name who said Weber, not Weber.
Well, that's 2.
Funny enough, the one with the 2 B's said Weber. But in real life,
2 B's is also Weber. It's just anytime there's W-E-B-E-R is Weber.
The people in real life I knew said David, so that's why I pronounced it. Anyway,
well, they're wrong. So
so the Honor Harrington novels have been published probably since like 1990 or so. It's a big, expansive universe now, and people who read about it call her a Mary Sue. Nowadays, she'd be called a woke character. But then those who read the book say, "Wait a minute. So do you understand how the character works? She's been genetically engineered to be superior, and then gets given premium training."
See, the idea of a Mary Sue is literally somebody who doesn't go through doesn't go through the rigorous tests and stuff. They just are the best naturally without any additional assistance. They're not genetically modified, but yet they could pick up a 400-pound guy and throw him a mile away. That's a Mary Sue. But if you're genetically modified, like Alita Battle Angel or something, that's not a Mary Sue. There's a reason they are the powerful as they are.
Yeah.
That's why Rey from Star Wars is considered a Mary Sue, is because she was good at everything from the get-go. She could repair the Millennium Falcon after seeing it one time. That's insane. Mm-hmm. Even Luke, who's by far a better pilot, and Anakin, who's even better pilot than that, wouldn't be able to just walk in the Millennium Falcon and be like,
"Well,
see,
Luke and Anakin have an excuse, right? They're the two most powerful Force beings ever, and the Force guides them to deal with machinery. That's actually part of their."
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, even they wouldn't in their first attempt fix the Millennium Falcon. They would still they'd take a couple, 3, 4 times as they learn, look at the blueprints.
Yeah, well, the Force would guide them to figure it out.
True, they'd figure it out, but they wouldn't figure it out like, "Oh, I found your problem." Like, that's what Rey did.
Because they have an ability which is supernatural.
I know, but if that was the case, then the Force would have guided Anakin from the whole Padme incident. But
that was Destiny.
Is it Destiny though? That's a different story. Anyway, let's wrap this part up so we can go to the next one, so we can make this a shorter episode. We're already
the Sage having a final opinion. He's been silent for a while.
Yeah,
or has he had to use up his EU time?
I mean, I sort of.
He's still stuck on Xerox copiers.
Yeah.
Well, what do they call? I mean, I know everyone calls it photocopy because that's what it is now, right?
I call them printers, but that's just me.
No,
I used to work
printer
on
and a photocopy aren't the same thing.
No. A lot of printers now, because I worked for a company that worked for
They can
Lexmark.
also photocopy.
Printers have photocopying, they have faxing, they have everything in them now.
It's not a printer though; it's a copier.
I know, but I'm saying
No, because it prints
you
stuff.
can print from your computer to a photocop printer faxer all in one multi-tool machine.
And they're called multifunction devices or multifunction copiers.
Yeah, but no one's going to
in the
call them.
industry, we call them printers.
I work in the industry. I literally have built
And
I know.
So,
I'm saying I
unfortunately, we
used to
also call them
repair them
printers.
and do software updates on them. I'm saying they're known, at least in the Midwest, as printers. They're not
That's
called photocopy.
colloquialism.
Maybe, but that's what we call them. You might
It's
call
just,
them soda. We might call them
call
pop,
what-
or
I
vice
call them what
versa.
the specification on when you buy them is, which is a multifunction printer copier.
There are just printers. There are just scanners. There are just, I
Correct.
guess, copiers. I haven't seen a just copier in forever. They all print, as far as I'm aware. Maybe some old ones are still, but new
Well,
ones.
nowadays they all print. It's too cheap.
That's my point. Is that's like the one I have is just a printer. I have to send something to it. All it does is print. It doesn't photocopy.
Yeah.
It doesn't fax. It doesn't do anything.
Anyway, well, we're getting sidetracked. Let's move on.
Thanks for that, Matt.
Yeah.
Anyway, you were saying Sage before you got really interrupted by this.
I was asking Sage a question about that before we got sidetracked.
I know, that's what I was telling you.
Yeah,
In
but I don't know
Europe,
what the
when you
question
have a
was about.
device that does a photocopy,
It
has always been called a photocopier.
it's okay,
No, we
Matt.
call it a printer.
Yeah, we call it printer.
Oh, you're young. I guess that's why you've never experienced
I'm not that young.
No, Sage is still in college. He's young.
No, I'm done.
He's graduated.
I thought you were going for your PhD or something.
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I might still do that at some point, but haven't yet.
He's not actively in school.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's a later generation, which all been standardized. Like maybe ask your parents or grandparents what they used to call it.
They only had fax, probably.
They had a printing press.
Well, if I ask my mom, that's also true. If I take my multifunction device, which is a Canon right next to me, and copy something in it, right? My mom was going to go, "Oh, you made me a Xerox." My aunt's going to go, "You made me a Xerox," right? So all the boomers in the U.S. are going to call it a Xerox.
Yeah, but we don't call stuff by their brands, right?
Well, no,
We
a
just
lot
do
of
the
people, like for
function.
example, do you know what a reciprocating saw is?
No.
Very reciprocating, though.
It's a saw, looks about yay long, has a blade that's about yay long, and you hold kind of like a sword and you cut things with it. And
Okay.
a lot of older people call it a
So I might use a
sawzall
sword.
because Sawzall was the first company that manufactured them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things like that.
But there's also a thing where like it's called this thing, and you're like, no, it's called this thing, and we're like, no, we call it a sawzall. Yeah.
Eventually, the real name spreads, but in a lot of cases in the U.S., I don't know about Europe, but in the U.S. and Canada, the first manufacturer of something tends to, for a while, has the name of what it is.
Sure.
Until.
But
that's not really a thing in Europe.
As the final comment on this particular, because you need to get to the next topic. When we say printer, we're referring to anything that prints and or everything else. Anything else, like a scanner, if it's a standalone scanner, we call it a scanner, we don't call it a printer. If it's a fax machine standalone, we don't call it a printer, we call it a fax machine. If it's a photocopier that doesn't do anything but photocopy, which is just scanning more or less, they're kind of in the same sometimes, we would call it a photocopier. But the average printer is just called the printer. And it has all the functions, but we call them printers. I don't know to tell you otherwise. But I'm sure you guys have possibly heard this in the news because it's kind of
probably
There's a new
been
pope. Is that
shaking.
what we're talking about?
No, we're not talking about religion.
The India-Pakistan war?
No, Nintendo, new terms of service.
Oh, that. Yeah.
You've heard about this, I assume?
Vaguely. I mean, I've heard a little bit.
So I pulled this up on GameFile because it actually gives us the wording of the terms of service, even though I have another article I want to cover the actual stuff, but this actually talks about it. Excuse me. So Nintendo's old user agreement, effective April 2021, said you are not allowed to lease, rent, sublicense, publish, copy, modify, adapt, translate, reverse engineer, decompile, or disassemble all or any portion of Nintendo account services without Nintendo's written consent or unless otherwise expressly permitted by applicable law. And personally, I think every law should be bypassing this by default. To me, this sounds like you're not allowed to recreate the software that the Nintendo Switch or Nintendo account utilizes. But they're trying to extend this to things like modding your game or
Okay.
modding your hardware with additional software on
Well,
top of it.
this
Now-
gets kind of complicated. Like
That's where we're going to
Could
get
you
into
actually
it.
show like the new and improved?
That's where
parts?
we're going to get to that
So,
next part. This thing's whole
I knew a
page, so
guy-
I'm not going to go like super crazy into it. I just want to read the actual parts. But real quick, Matt, go.
So I knew this is back, I say, in the '90s, which was what would have been what NES, Super NES, Sega, and Sega Genesis era. That right? That remember time period in that. So when back then it wasn't software; it was basically knockoff copies of games. And we were at Stevens, and
We
he
called
would
those
buy a
forgeries, but
console.
yeah.
He would buy a console like a Sega Genesis and make a circuit board that he would just literally put into it. And if you inserted a game into it, it would just copy the game right out, like literally just copy it out. And then he could take that and use this other thing he invented to make his own cartridges and
Yeah. You can
So-
sell forgeries that are
Yeah.
or reproduced stuff.
Yeah.
Which
Now it's all just like software and emulators.
yeah,
you know?
which I get and whatever, but now emulation's a thing and everything like that. But it says here's the new, way more intense version, complete with potential punishment of your Switch being bricked by Nintendo. So that's the possibility now. And the new parts are emboldened by the person, not me. Actually, it's whoever wrote this
Yeah,
article.
but like actually show it maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Without limitation, you agree that you may not A, publish, copy, modify, reverse engineer, lease, rent, decompile, disassemble, distribute, offer for sale, or create derivative works of any portion of the Nintendo account services. B, bypass, modify, decrypt, defeat, tamper with, or otherwise circumvent any of the functions or protections of the Nintendo account services, including through the use of any hardware or software that would cause the Nintendo account services to operate other than in accordance with its documentation and intended use. C, obtain, install, or use any unauthorized copies of Nintendo account services. Or D, exploit the Nintendo account services in any manner other than to use them in accordance with the applicable documentation and intended use in each case, without Nintendo's written consent or express authorization, or unless otherwise expressly permitted by applicable law. You acknowledge that if you fail to comply with the foregoing restrictions, Nintendo may render the Nintendo account services and or the applicable Nintendo device permanently unusable in whole or in part. Now, this has been something that Xbox and PlayStation have been doing, where basically if they're like, well, if we catch you cheating online, we can nuke your network ability so you'll never be able to use that PlayStation or Xbox online ever again.
So
Which I
No.
still think is a dick move. You could just block them from the game. You don't have to brick their entire capabilities completely. But that's that again is between them,
It's
because
especially bad for the resale market.
that too. But they
Because-
don't want you to resell; they want you to buy from them.
Yeah, no, I get that, but like,
But my
So-
problem is that if you incorrectly place judgment on somebody, you brick their system, and they're innocent. This is like the same instance with the
Well-
death penalty. Do you do the death penalty if they have a chance of being innocent? Well, because you might kill an innocent person. Do you give somebody a life sentence if they're potentially innocent? Because if you put away somebody for 50, 60 plus years and then you discover new information, and that new information says they didn't do it, well, you just did something horrific to an innocent person. And that's the kind of, I'm not obviously comparing that stuff to video game hardware or something, but
well, no, it's a valid.
I'm
it's a valid-
comparing the concept of what an innocent person can have done to them. And PlayStation 5's not cheap. Xboxes just became super
No,
expensive.
it is a valid comparison. Okay.
Well, I know,
and
but
in
I'm saying I'm not comparing hardware to a person's life. Is what I'm saying.
No, but in terms of the process of
Yeah,
involved.
the
it is-
philosophy.
So
the philosophy
to
behind
kind
it,
of break
yes.
this down a little bit, before we get to the stupidity of what they're doing, the reason these licenses keep getting more and more complicated is because more and more countries have different rules on this stuff. And like, for example, what would get you in trouble for copyright in the U.S. will not get you in trouble in Canada in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
You know, so they have to make more and more strict licensing agreements to cover more and more stuff that happens in other countries. You know,
Yeah.
Now dicking your PlayStation or anything is a dick
bricking,
move.
not dicking, but yes.
Well, it's called, to me, it's dicking.
no,
It might as well be
that could
dicking
also
it.
be
Fuck it,
applicable.
you know.
who
I mean,
knows?
maybe
Um,
Nintendo's dicking your Switch. I don't know,
yeah.
but
And the reason they get away with this stuff, there's a guy who, Lewis Rothman.
Yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah, he's politically wrong. He doesn't understand the concept. Like he's right on the issues about what these companies do. Like
He's
like
great on
like
repair to right to repair.
no. He's right on the issue, but he's wrong on the solution. He
Maybe.
wants to be the government to impose solutions on things.
Oh yeah,
He's
that's
a
probably
left.
good, yeah.
He's a left winger. In other words,
Hey, you got left wing derangement system.
yeah, no. But
Whatever.
point is, like
symptom, whatever.
He's talked about this sort of issue where you will purchase a product, right, and you don't actually own the product because the company maintains a right to control it. That's why I use Linux, by the way, right now. As
Until
my
Linux
main
yanks
computer.
it from underneath you.
You know, I have Windows on my gaming PC, right? Just because I could and I remote into it to my desktop or whatever. But that's just convenient for me. But I will never run Windows 11 because I will not have Microsoft be able to go into my house and control my shit. And
Yeah,
that's
I'm gonna
that's
skip
different in Windows 10 and
11.
Windows 11, by the way.
I
And
wish I could still use Windows 7, but unfortunately, it's not viable.
and how do I put it? So I get the reason companies do this stuff,
I don't.
but the response.
I
And
mean,
people,
I do, but I don't.
and this frustrates me with
Yeah, I
some
was about to say
people
it's money.
who complain about it.
Money.
Not us, because we're relatively poor. But when I see a guy like I'm trying to think of someone, someone like a 10 million people like Asmongold, right? So take him. He complains about something. Let's say he complains about something like this. He has the money to actually sue over it. Okay, so I don't want to hear his bitching about it because you have to do something about it. That's why I respect Jared from the quartering a lot because he actually sues over this stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
I
so
mean,
like,
if you're suing against Nintendo, you're gonna be in trouble.
no, you can win a proper lawsuit. No matter how many lawyers they have, you got to be able to afford your main lawyer. You know,
You also have to be able to have the stuff that you need to do so. But
well, they have to give it to you.
They'll also just draw it out because they've got FU money, and you're probably not as rich as them.
The civil litigation process is drawn out by design, but
which it shouldn't be, which is, in my opinion, a crime. But that's
a whole separate issue. I'm saying. Point is, when you get agreements here, like with stuff like this, right? In my view, I understand why the company does it, but I don't think it doesn't make me less likely to pirate their stuff.
Well, that was my thing. It's my same argument when it comes to AI art or AI music. So my argument is people complain that you need to go hire real human artists or real human musicians to do your stuff. And it's like, I don't have that kind of capital to just fling at people, because making one song, if I was to pay like real people to do it, is like $400+. Like, that's a lot of money for one song.
Well, I'll give you an example.
Well, one second. Let me finish this. If I want to go to an artist, it costs hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, depending on what you want done and how detailed it is. And both of those things can take a long time. They can take weeks. They can take months. They can take a long time for it to be performed or to be created. And then you may or may not be happy with the final solution, this, that, or the other. Now, in the other side of things, if I can't afford to pay a painter or an artist, illustrator, whatever, or if I can't afford to pay a whole band or even a couple individual instrument musicians, they're not going to be losing business by me using an AI art or AI music, because I'm not going to pay them to begin with, because I can't afford to pay them. That kind of thing. If they dropped their prices instead of thinking they were God's greatest gift to mankind, maybe I could afford something from time to time, or a little thing here, there, or whatever. But if I need something for, like, say, a thumbnail, I can't. I'm not smart enough to use AI to make the thumbnail. I don't understand how the prompt system works. I'm just not. That's not where my brain goes. But somebody who is good at that, or has at least competency in it, can make something that they can use. But to pay somebody $50+, especially in my situation where I make $0, it's going to be a negative for me no matter what. I'm always going to be going down the drain financially in order to get somebody to do something like that for me. Now, if
Oh,
I
no.
had, for example, if I made 10 grand every month off of YouTube, yeah, I'd hire somebody and say, hey, can you make my stuff? I don't make that kind of money. I'd hire somebody to edit my videos so my videos would become better quality because I have that kind of money. If I don't have that kind of money, it doesn't matter. There are no editors or video editors or thumbnail editors, possibly both in the same person, out there losing my business because I can't afford to do business with them. And that's the same thing with Nintendo, is that they're saying, well, we're trying to stop pirating. I'm like, well, people who are going to pirate from you are going to do one of two things. One, never buy from you anyway, or B, they already have it. They just want to have it a specific way. Like, say they buy the game, but they don't want to break the seal. They want to keep it in mint condition. So they download the pirated or the ROM version of it, and then they want to play it that way. It's a completely legal way to do it because you already purchased the access to it. So just having the access to it that they can't revoke is just a cherry on the top. But Nintendo, for whatever reason, thinks that they own the Switch. They sold you, not rented you, sold you. You're leasing it from them. And it's like, no. I buy a Switch. It's in my house. Nintendo has zero authorization to walk into my house and take my Switch from me. They cannot alter it in any shape or form because I'm not doing anything against the law.
Well, you would have to sue over it. It's happened. I don't know if you guys are aware with Amazon Kindle, for example. When you buy a Kindle book,
don't use a Kindle.
you can take notes in the Kindle.
I don't use Kindle.
Well, if you bought a Kindle, right, and especially if you're a college student with those ridiculously oversized textbooks that are half full of nonsense.
Sage.
And I remember too. I still have.
I remember them. I have some
No,
big ones for
mine
art
are
and
not
stuff.
full of nonsense.
I still have at least 15 of my college textbooks.
All
I
of the
paid
stuff
so
you were
much for them.
you're learning.
They're like
nonsense.
encyclopedias.
They
I'm never going to get my math ones or my physics ones or whatever. But point I'm getting is you could get a PDF of University Physics Volume 17 or whatever they're up to now, and put it on your Kindle and take your notes in the Kindle, right?
Yeah.
Well, the problem is Amazon started doing something douchey about 15 years ago, where if they withdrew, like if the license to have a book on Kindle expire, like let's say the company who made University of Physics said we're no allowing it on Kindle, whatever, they would then pull your book out with all your notes.
Yeah.
But you already purchased it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
well, they're no longer keeping it hosted on their server, and if it's a cloud based, that would make sense. If you downloaded it, then they try to remove it. I'd have problems with that.
No. So no, now that's the new thing they added. You can actually download your books onto your Kindle, in which case it won't get deleted.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that like the club?
But that was a new response to.
What's it called? There's a racing game that's currently in a lawsuit with EA or somebody. I think it's like Club Midnight or no, The Crew. It's called The Crew. And basically these guys were wanting to play it, and basically they're like, we can do this in single player mode, but it's an always online game. So when they pulled it, they removed the game from the guys' computers, and they sued them saying, that's not what this box says. You could easily patch in a single player mode of this and let us have access to it. And they're probably the only two guys in the world that play the game, but either way, they have a point. It's like, we did not rent this from you. We purchased this. I mean, PlayStation, like last year, stopped carrying stuff on there. Like if somebody would buy like movies or TV series or something. Let's say they bought the Friends collection or something, and somebody's like, yeah, I paid $60+ for this or whatever. And they're like, well, we no longer carry this, so yoink. And then you didn't have access to it, despite you could have totally said, you can download this. You have a month to download this or whatever the case might be. And then they could have downloaded it and had it on their computer or on their tablet or whatever the case they wanted to, or even on their PlayStation. But they didn't do that. And it's like, that's why we don't buy digital, or that's why you should not buy digital, unless it's like GOG or possibly Steam. Steam I would consider secondary. I'd prefer to buy any single player games on GOG, so I have a DRM free game. I can download it, and it's always mine, kind of a thing. Yeah. I want Steam to totally do DRM free. I would be tickled pink if Steam went DRM free. I have no idea why they don't do DRM free, but
they would lose a lot of games.
Or at least tell me what games could be DRM free. And what are you going to lose? The games nobody wants to buy or play anyway? Whoop-de-doo. Like, you'll gain more clientele because you're taking the digital world to the slaughterhouse and basically just obliterating them. If GOG is already doing it, all the games on GOG are essentially, or I should say all of them, all of the mainstream games on GOG are on Steam. So I can get an Elder Scrolls game like Skyrim or Oblivion or Morrowind on GOG and own it forever, or on Steam, where if, heaven forbid, Steam ever goes down, I lose access to it. At the very minimum, at the last dying breath of Steam, just switch to DRM free. Like, whatever the case may
Well,
be.
again, that's a legal thing. That's a licensing and legal. That's complicated.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, then there's also this from that Park Place. Nintendo can and will brick your Switch console for modding and piracy, according to new policy update. Nintendo has fired a warning shot at
Wasn't there more changed in the agreements? Didn't they say something?
The
like
rest
there
of
were
it's
three
paid. I have
things?
no access to it if there is more. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
that's.
okay.
I'm pretty sure those
That's my
two
bad.
parts were the parts because there's the main part, which is what it was before, and then there was the whole additional one.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the addition. This is just in addition to it. This is explaining
But
it
they
more
meant like
later.
there's like 3 extra things added to that specific line.
No, when you look at this, all this stuff that's highlighted, the
Yeah,
bolded,
no, I get that. But
all
scroll
the
up a bit.
bolded's the new stuff. This is the old one.
Yeah, but like a bit further.
Yeah, it's probably 3 bigger
3
changes.
bigger changes, right? So this is the first one.
this
The
is-
rest
you have-
is
You get
okay,
behind
we
a
can't read.
paywall. I
Okay,
can't
yeah.
access it. I'm not paying.
So
for
we
it,
don't know what the other stuff is.
No, but I only need to know what Nintendo says to make up my mind. I don't have to go any further.
That's fair.
We also have that Park Place for this. So
I
Nintendo
mean,
has
the
fired
rest could be worse, right?
possibly, but Nintendo or not Nintendo. That Park Place is going to cover the stuff more on a normal situation. They also have the user agreement here, which I assume goes to the actual user
That
agreement.
probably links to the actual
it,
one,
it,
but
it does. I don't want to go through the entire. We're trying to make this a
Yeah,
short
no,
video.
that's
We're
the-
not getting there.
yeah.
Nintendo has fired a
And
warning.
also, we don't know the difference if we don't have the old one to compare.
Well, I mean, we saw the main part, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's just the one bit.
I know. I'm just saying, if you want to read it and then tell me later, I'll make a quick update on it. But I'm not reading
no,
through it.
never mind.
Exactly. Nintendo has fired a warning shot at would-be hackers and modders just weeks ahead of Switch 2 launch. Tweak your system or engage in piracy, and you could lose it for good. If I want to customize my background, apparently that's a crime against humanity, and you're going to brick my system for it. It's really stupid.
Oh damn.
In a quiet but sweeping update to its user agreement, it wasn't quiet. It literally prevented me from getting into my multiplayer games, even though I pay for Switch Online. Nintendo now states it reserves the right to permanently disable your console. Yes, brick it. If you're caught attempting to pirate games, run unauthorized software, or tamper with any of the system's protections. How do you know what unauthorized software? You could totally be playing unauthorized software and not even being aware of it.
Yeah, well, if you get hacked,
Brick your
I don't know
system.
if that makes sense for a
Nintendo
Switch.
Nintendo doesn't care. Like that's the thing about Nintendo. Is Nintendo
Mhm.
is not some like, oh, we're so sorry, we'll reverse the decision. They're not going to do that.
Does this also apply to the original Switch, or is it
It-
just for the new
it's-
one?
I assume Switch and Switch 2 because it's the current Nintendo account stuff.
Yeah, so it's the
It-
account.
That same terms of service is on my Switch.
Okay, fair enough.
So if you log into a multiplayer game or whatever, and
What
you're
if you
online,
never update to the new one?
huh? It
What
won't
if
be able to access online.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's the thing about terms of services. Terms of services need to be only ever implemented at the beginning and never ever changed, because otherwise they could change it to be like, if you don't give me all your money in your bank account, I'm bricking your machine and removing all your games, and none of your cartridges will work on this thing. Like, they could just decide to do that one day, and it's
Yeah,
perfectly
so
legal because terms of
basically
services.
It's essentially the OGL debacle, but for Nintendo.
It's just extortion is all it is. Don't do what I don't want you to do because I don't like what you're doing. It's like, shove off. I bought this. It's my game. It's like, what about terms of services? Because I have Skyrim for my Switch, so I use it for when I play Skyrim vanilla mode. I play it on my Switch. When I play it modded, I play it on my PC. So if I'm running around doing something, and they're like, in the terms of service, it says you're not allowed to play an archer, a fighter, and a mage in the same game. So you just broke terms of services, so we're gonna brick your computer. That is retarded. Because terms of service. Like, that's not a good enough excuse, and people need to get pissed off
who
about
would want
this.
all of those in their game?
I know,
anyway?
right? You acknowledge that if you fail to comply with the foregoing restrictions, Nintendo may render the Nintendo account services and or the applicable Nintendo device permanently usable or unusable in whole or in part, the new agreement warrants. Now, Nintendo account services is anything online.
Mm-hmm. I
And
mean,
the device permanently is the entire thing, hardware, software, and everything.
permanently unusable, right? That's
That's
the
bricking.
thing. But are they actually going to be capable of doing that?
Yes, they can go through the internet and brick your machine.
What if you're not connected to the internet?
Well, it's like the executioner's axe, or what was the ancient Greek myth? The
I
sword
don't
of
know.
Damocles
Yeah,
hang over
Damocles.
your head.
Okay, fair enough.
So basically, because at some point you have to update a game, and you have to connect to the internet, and then that's when they're
Well,
gonna
the,
get you.
the
Maybe
worst guy.
the
This
game knows
isn't
the
Apple.
update.
Apple's been doing this to all their products for years.
Well, yeah, most companies do this stuff.
No, it's not that most do it. It's becoming more and more common.
Yeah, and most people are
Mhm.
doing it. The update first reported by GameFile, which is what we read already, marks the first revision to the user term since 2021, where the old language merely told users not to reverse engineer or modify their accounts. This new iteration takes a sledgehammer approach, leaving little doubt that Nintendo intends to get aggressive with piracy enforcement on the Switch too. Except pirates are going to, or hackers, I should say, are going to recode it so it's not going to do anything. It's not going to send any information to Nintendo, and Nintendo's going to have to constantly be combating it. But again, piracy on a Switch is not that big of an issue because people are willing to pay you for your product when you give them what they want.
Well, I guess this could be an issue for the regular users if they find the same similar methods for copying the Switch cards as they did for the regular Switch.
Well, apparently, also the Switch cards are going to be limited. That every single Switch card is going to be a 64 gigabyte. Every single one.
Okay.
Which means that if you're using an 800 megabyte game on it, it's still going to have to be a 64 gigabyte cost card or cartridge. So no matter what,
I mean, that makes sense though, right? Why would they?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that, well, because it's cheaper to make one than making a 64.
Like they can just do the game card key thingy.
Yeah, but nobody wants the game card key.
That's true.
Like,
I mean,
we're talking
just
if you put your
get one
game
conversion
if you
rate.
put your game on the game card, it's a 64 gigabyte. Which means that for you and your cost to make said game, it's going to cost the 64 gigabyte version despite not utilizing the 64 gigabytes. It's that kind of a thing. So when you could have a 15 or a 16, probably a 16 or a 26, 25, whatever gigabyte random numbers or something. You could have that instead, like arguably you could say a 36 gigabyte or not 36 30.
Yeah, but
So,
for like the previous Switch,
48,
you have that they can copy the entire Switch game cards, including the code that checks whether or not it's a copied one. But that does allow you to play it on a Switch, right? The verification thingy. If you have multiple people with such copies and they simultaneously play it and connect,
the game card requires the game card in it. So it has to be in there like a regular game would be in there anyway.
Yeah, but
it's just you can give it to somebody else and they can play it, which is funny.
I know,
because so can a regular one.
The piracy, Switch piracy community, let's call it, they found a way to copy the Switch cards in their entirety to make them look identical to regular Switch cards to the Switch.
Yeah.
But that includes a identification code that allows the Switch to recognize it's a legit game. If you then copy it, you have two legit games with the same verification code. And if you play them simultaneously, Nintendo knows, oh,
somebody has a copy. Yeah.
So one of these is
that's the way CD keys worked for PC back in the day. But the thing with the CD keys is that there was a generation system, so you could literally generate one within range of this. And as long as you and somebody else didn't participate in the same instance with them, it was okay. So if you play Battlefront Middle Earth,
that makes this change to the agreements even more dangerous.
Yeah, but you could also argue that they would come up with a way to which that identification code that you need, they would make something that would basically force Nintendo's system reading it to just accept that what it is there, rather than giving an actual specific code. In other words, like a software hack, where you basically instead of it having to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, it would be whatever it is, and it would basically say, this is something that works. It's totally compatible, and not like actually read something.
Yeah, but that's a lot more difficult, right? It's easy.
Yes,
to just
but these people are psychos. They'll do it because they want to hack the thing to begin with. So, and if that's the case, it bypasses this entire process, and it's silly to begin with, because then Nintendo has to come back and make more stuff, which costs them more money to do this, and they're fighting a battle because I personally think it's a losing battle, because when people are saying we don't care about piracy and they're releasing a good game.
Well, no, you got to remember though, they have to do this to some extent. To enforce your copyright or trademark, you have to legally protect it.
Well, sure, but there's a difference between protecting it and headhunting. These guys are headhunting now.
Well, it's only headhunting if they actually do this stuff.
It's in the ToS. When we start seeing people going like, I got my Switch bricked, and maybe they're guilty, maybe they're not. But either way, my product is my product, and Nintendo shouldn't have any say over my product.
Again, different issue. We agree on that. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So for the Switch 2
some
era,
lawyer may have said, put this language in there, and some smart CEO was saying, don't ever implement it. You know?
Yeah. The timing is no coincidence. The Nintendo Switch 2 is set to launch June 5th and represents a significant leap in both performance and infrastructure. While the original Switch relied heavily on cartridges, the new model is expected to lean far more into digital downloads, which I'm not happy about, making it even more critical for Nintendo to protect the software ecosystem. It can't do that.
Games. Definitely.
Well, allegedly, only Mario Kart World is $80. Everything else is $70. But there's going to be specific ones that are going to be more expensive, like the Ultimate
Isn't
Edition.
it also the case that or is that maybe only in specific regions that the physical is more expensive than the digital?
In Japan, things are cheaper because they want Japan to benefit things because they're racist. But yes, I mean, they are.
Understandably, I mean.
The shift raises obvious concerns about piracy on the Switch, and Nintendo isn't taking any chances. The new user agreement outlines a broader definition of prohibited activity, flagging anything that might bypass, modify, decrypt, defeat, tamper with, or otherwise circumvent device protections or Nintendo's account services. Longtime Nintendo followers know this isn't coming out of nowhere. The company has an aggressive history when it comes to piracy and emulation, routinely filing lawsuits to shut down emulator platforms, ROM distribution sites, and other even fans creating mods or homebrew tools for defunct hardware. That to me is stupid. You're not even offering the service. You're not even giving me anything else, and I want to just homebrew my freaking 3DS or something, or my freaking DS Lite.
To be fair though, with the 3DS, it's not connected to Nintendo servers anyway, so they can't really do anything there.
Well, yes, probably. But probably that's comforting. But it's like, you know, somebody's like, hey, this is defunct hardware. There's nothing on this. I can't connect it to the internet because, like, for Wii U, the Wii, 3DS, XLs and stuff, they're all cut off from the eShop. They don't exist on the eShop anymore. So there's no reason to connect online except maybe to connect wirelessly to somebody else to play with them through a mod.
Will they know?
That's what I don't know. But somebody coming in saying, I know we don't support this thing anymore, but, or how about this? You drive a freaking 1990 Toyota Civic, or not, it's Honda Civic, the Toyota Prius or something.
I don't fucking know what.
I'm just picking. It's a Japanese car, Toyota Prius or whatever from 1990. I don't even know if there's a 1990 Toyota Prius, but we're gonna throw it out there. And then it's like Toyota coming in the year 3000.
Just the Honda. That's also.
There was a Prius in 1990. The battery was the size of a Mack truck.
I know, but my point is that in the year 3075, Toyota comes in and says, how dare you mod your car that you bought from us 1,000 years ago? We're going to bomb it from orbit just to be sure. And then they drop a bomb blowing up your car. It's just like, why? There's no reason to it.
In 1,000 years and collapse your 1990 Prius into...
Like, this does not give me loyalty to a brand. This does everything possible to discourage me to be loyal to the brand. Because I'm like, you might have some people
mean,
pirate you, Nintendo, but you know what?
I'm more
You'll have
concerned.
more people pay for it than pirate.
Yeah, exactly. I'm more concerned about false positives in this whole situation.
Like I said, an innocent person getting bricked because you don't know for a fact that they did something wrong, and you probably have AI or something messing with it. That's gonna probably hit some people that don't.
Well, there was a dude. He got his Microsoft account. What was Microsoft gaming account called? The Xbox account.
Yeah.
Before they merged them all together, he got his Xbox 360 account basically bricked on him with all his games because his name in Spanish, he's a Spanish person with a Spanish name, right?
Yeah.
And his name in English was a racial slur.
Yeah.
So but his name,
but he's not
you're
on that
required
stuff.
to use his name, and like you can't fake your name when you make your account. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's going to be an AI system that picks that up. It's not going to be
No,
a real person.
It was a human complaint.
Well, no, humans complained about his name, but the system that picks it up is AI.
This was before AI. This was like 10 or 15 years ago.
They still had programs that did it automated. Like
there were people. The lawsuit revealed there were people involved in this, and
okay,
maybe
there is. But if I show up with freaking ID and I say this is legitimately my name, grow up, grow a pair, and get the frick out of here, and give me my stuff back, that's just the nature of it. That's all it needs to be. But how will they know? Here's your answer. Here's where it gets even more concerning for some gamers. Nintendo's privacy policy now allows expanded monitoring. If your device
doesn't it record the screen share thingies, right?
Yeah, but I'm not using that function.
Like
I'm never using that feature. If I ever get a Switch 2, which at the moment I have no intention to get one, but if they do get one, or if I end up getting one sent to me, or if I get one on the cheap down low, I'm not gonna get that function because it's a spy recording device no matter how you look at it. Because if you say something just around your house and you're walking by your Switch and you just say something that they don't want to hear or they don't like, boop, you can get bricked. If your device hits an error, the company collects a wide swath of data about what caused it, including what you were doing at the time. Imagine saying gamer words to your friends and in a game you guys are playing together, like Mario Kart, like Geeks and Gamers, and they're recording your voice from the Switch 2, and they brick you because you're not saying family-friendly stuff.
Content provided at the time the error occurred.
So if you or your device experiences an error, we collect information about the error, the time the error occurred, the application or features being used, the state of the application when the error is used, and any communications, words, or content provided at the time the error occurred.
Yeah,
the policy states.
The second paragraph. That's the
and with the Switch 2 adding a new game chat feature, including video and voice communication during gameplay, Nintendo has also updated its privacy policy to permit monitoring of audio or video interactions with user consent.
With user consent.
But if you say no...
Is that if you use it, you consent, or is it you have to opt in?
You're probably screwed either way. What this means for gamers. This move will certainly spark debate. On one hand, it's Nintendo hardware and software, and the company has every right to protect it. Well, the hardware they don't, because once they give it to you, they don't have it anymore. It's not in their possession.
Software, sure.
Software, to some extent, yes. If I buy, like... Okay, I've got a whole bunch of games here. These are mine. They own the IPs. They own how the game was developed. They own that stuff, but they don't own these cartridges.
I have to nuke your card case there.
Yeah, they're gonna have to bomb my house to do that. In other words, they're getting a massive lawsuit for like trillions of dollars for that. But on the other hand, the idea of remote console bricking raises serious consumer rights concerns, especially for users who may be wrongly flagged or unintentionally violate vague terms. Because again, vague terms is one of those things where it goes every which way.
I'm not too concerned about the whole piracy problem because I don't really do that anyway.
But even if you did, Nintendo has to do a never-ending battle in which they have to fight pirates on the pirates getting around by hacking them. And it's going to never end.
It's the collateral damage of regular people who maybe...
the people who are paying you money.
Are wrongly flagged as pirates.
I'm convinced that Nintendo is so traditionally up their own rear end that they don't understand that they're becoming the boogeyman. Like, at this point, no one's talking about Sony being the censorship, Sony being the expensive one, Xbox being dicks like they have been lately. It's all Nintendo. Nintendo's taking so much heat, and this is just adding fuel to the fire. And it's dumb. So far, Nintendo hasn't clarified how it will determine when a device has crossed the line. Is detection automated? Will it rely on player reports or server-side flags? Is there an appeals process? Whatever the method, the message is crystal clear. In the world of Switch 2, Nintendo will be watching for piracy, and it's playing for keeps. Now, I think this is funny because they're going to be extremely vague on everything and not be clear and precise. Notice when they did the announcement, I doubt either of you watched my video on that when I did the live coverage of it, but
I didn't watch your video, but I did watch the announcement.
because you're a scumbag.
I did play your video, but only watched like 5 minutes of it.
Thanks. Love you guys too. Anyway, thanks for
There
nothing.
are only so many hours in a day, my friend.
And
Exactly.
you should be paying more attention to me than some random cat videos. But anyway,
Watch cat videos.
why does anybody watch cat videos, good sir?
My phone is alerting us.
Yeah, really loudly too.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're going to be vague on everything, which we know they're good at being vague on everything because during that video or during the actual stuff, they didn't give us any costs, prices. They didn't give us any information. They stayed quiet through the entire thing. When it came to everyone being in uproar about the pricing, they didn't come out and clarify anything. Not a single thing. And it's stupid. So it's like, I don't think Nintendo...
It has always been a bad habit of Nintendo to never actually answer any questions.
Communication is very important and key when it comes to maintaining a relationship between you and literally anyone else. So whether it be your best friend, whether it be your spouse, whether it be your coworkers,
but only if it costs them money. Because they're making money hand over foot.
Yeah.
Well, hand over fist in their rear end, yes. But I
mean, the pre-orders of Switch 2 sold out immediately.
It makes me disappointed in gamers, but I'm not going to tell them what they can and can't do.
It's not just gamers, right? It's also regular people.
Well, if they're playing games, they should be by definition sliding into the category of gamers.
Well,
but okay,
sure, but like,
I play games. I am a gamer.
More than just some person.
Sure, and of course, there's going to be the person who's not intelligent enough to do any research on anything. I was there once at one point in my life. You were there once at one point in your life. We're all been normies at some point.
Yeah, right. Or they're too busy to.
Sure, and there are some people who literally buy a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox that doesn't have a disc drive, and they want to buy. They just buy everything digitally because they don't want a lasting purchase. They want literally whatever they can get right then and there that saves them space or whatever. And that's the reason I collect stuff, is because eventually this stuff's not going to be available somewhere. And when it's not available somewhere, I'll still have access to it, where the people who digitally download will not have access to it.
Well, that depends on how you digitally download. But let's not get into too many
details. But that also means that when that comes to the point where you want to download that stuff, it will be available at the time you want to get it. There's a lot of problems, even if you do sail the high seas.
Yeah,
and go sailing or something. But if they're going to be that super vague on something, it's going to be one heck of a fight. Now, on a completely different categorization, so let us know, guys, what your thoughts are on, obviously, controlling your own buttons that you press, and also on Nintendo and their crazy terms of service. Leave a comment on what you guys think. That'd be great. Appreciate you. And now for something completely different.
Minecraft. Wait, what?
Yeah. So Minecraft Java Edition, the little yellow line says, educate your friends on anti-racism.
Every single operating system block Java by default now.
I'm pretty sure I use Java Edition because it's the only one you could really mod.
But I agree. At work, educate your friends on anti-racism and why anti-racism is a bad thing.
I remember at work we're running.
No. It's educate your friends on anti-racism. In other words, you should be an anti-racist.
Yeah, but like,
you should be against racism.
The sentence literally as it is.
I agree with the sentence. I just don't agree that it belongs in Minecraft.
Like Minecraft basically went off the rails when it was no longer when Microsoft bought it. Right, it's Microsoft, right?
Yes, Microsoft bought it from Notch and Mojang.
Well, Microsoft is woke.
Well,
Yep.
yes,
So
but this has
perfectly.
nothing to do with the game. This is completely like shove in. And Grum's reported on this saying Microsoft adds DEI messages to
Mhm.
Minecraft. Notch calls it evil, which I will agree with
Yeah.
Notch, and I can
Yeah.
confirm that Lunduke is reporting DEI.
I don't know who that is.
I don't either. DEI is very prevalent in Microsoft and hasn't gone anywhere. Lots of emails, training
Yeah.
sessions, etc.
That much
So,
has been on.
Lunduck's the guy. He got the original.
Oh,
quote
the
from.
info. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will agree with Notch and say this is evil to put in front of children because children aren't going to inherently be racist.
Mm-hmm.
But
Anti-racism is bullshit.
I will be probably racist against anybody who puts this in games. I
No,
don't care
but
who you are. I don't care what your
anti-racism is
ethnicity is.
bullshit.
That's
I will
just
be
common sense.
I will be racist against the person who puts this junk in games.
But
I don't
anti-racism is
care.
also woke bullshit.
Hot take maybe. Minecraft version 1.18 of the original run, let's call it, is the best version anyway. So
No, the best version is whatever I could modify by the texture mods. I want my God rays. I want my realistic mods because old school Minecraft hurts my eyeballs after a while.
yeah, but, you had alpha, beta, and
Oh,
then
look, it's one of
real
the
release.
anti-Gooner
And
Gate
real release
guys in the comment.
1.18
Look at that.
is the best one, and then they added a whole extra set of new versions.
So one of the anti-Gooner guys is making a comment showing a LGBTQ plus
Oh,
bridge.
that yeah.
Yeah.
That's not an in-game thing? That's just
No, it's a guide somebody made, put it on YouTube, saying here's 3 pride tutorials you can do to make things pride and gay in your
just
server.
regular random shitheads.
Which I can tell you right now, you don't need a tutorial for. You could literally just go in, use dye, and dye whatever freaking want. Like
You
it's
just put the colors right next to each other.
literally that simple. It doesn't. Now, if you want to say a tutorial on making a cool structure, sure.
I mean, to be fair, I guess you could use this tutorial to get the top leafy-looking parts. I guess.
Not really. That's literally just placing them.
Yeah, but like you have to make it look good as well, right?
Well, you trim it. You just make it look however you think looks good. But yeah,
Sure.
you could use a tutorial, but you don't need a tutorial. It's probably made in creative mode, is my guess, because otherwise you have to grow a whole freaking tree and then place a block there.
Yeah, this could do. This, I mean,
either way, this doesn't belong in games for kids, even if a lot of players are adults.
Yeah, that's
this doesn't belong even for adults because nobody goes to Minecraft to be like, let's be racist. Yeah, that's not what people go to Minecraft for. People go to Minecraft because they want to play with blocks and basically revert to preschool.
That's what adults do.
Yeah, right? we want to play with blocks and build cool stuff like that. That's it. We want floating castles. We want all this crazy stuff. None of this has to involve anti-racism, pro-racism.
I mean, all the crazy shit they added, right? I mean,
this should be as simple as, can I break a block and build a block somewhere? Yes, thank you. Leave me the frick alone. But the fact that this is popping up, whether for Java Edition or Bedrock Edition or any other edition whatsoever, is ridiculous. So that was all I wanted to get off my chest because it was irritating me. But it's also fabulously optimized, 6.5.0.
Oh, oops, I meant 1.8 rather than 1.18.
How dare you?
Yeah.
1.8 is much, much later
That
than
error
18.
will cost you, Sage. It will cost you.
It will cost you with your life.
I could maybe be convinced about 1.9, but 1.8 is the best one.
But yes, those are the 3 topics. We took a little longer because we waxed eloquently about some things. We were more clear about clarifying stuff than Nintendo has been, so fair enough.
I guess maybe the last decent-ish update was 1.13.
That's after 8, dude.
Yeah.
Or before 8, sorry.
No, that's after.
1.8?
Yeah.
1.13.
So that's after?
Well,
8?
numbers 1 is lower than 8. So if it comes after the decimal,
No, that's not how version numbers work.
Unless you're doing the .13 or the
Yeah.
.8. Okay, if that's the case, then it's different. But
It's version 1 update.
maybe
30.
Minecraft's the only one who does it that way, because everybody else I see it does it wherever
No,
the bigger number
this
goes
this
up.
is standard how you do.
No, I'm saying like
version.
1.13, 1.14, and then they go to 1.2, and then they go 1.2.1 or
Yeah, but it's
1.2.
1.2.1 is a sub update of 0.2, but 1.3 would be the next major update, and then you can.
I'm saying they normally climb it up to the next largest number, and when it's a major update. Minecraft does it a little different because they do the point number point. So they do 1.18.1. That's different.
But when they started doing that extra decimal point, like 1.2.1, I wanted to shoot whoever invented that.
That's fair.
But they have an infinite number of updates they have to do.
Well, then use a zero, like 1.2, 1.21, 1.22, 1.201. They're called decimals for a reason.
Now it just sounds like you're coding 1001101100011111110.
Yeah. Well, in a way, you are coding. When you use software, you are coding.
Mm-hmm. When did they sell to Microsoft?
When did Notch sell Mojang? Oh, this is
over what version?
Over a decade ago, I think. Probably 15 years ago, maybe. I don't remember. It's been a hot minute. I didn't really pay much attention to it. I just heard it did get sold. But...
1.8 was the last update before it got bought.
The last true Notch update.
Yeah.
Well, it wishes it could be 1.1.
So 1.9 is the combat update where they added the shields and the stamina to attack.
And then they had gliders, and they had a whole bunch of stuff. And there's a whole bunch of mods in Minecraft now. What are you going to do? Terms of service. You modded our game. We're going to burn your computer to the ground.
My niece is a Minecraft fanatic.
I like it, and I'm sure my boys will be.
I mean, Minecraft is nice, but
it's a fun game.
Maybe
it can be very
maybe
relaxing.
Go back to version 1.13, right? I mean, you don't need all the extra shit.
I want whatever the mods let me do it, but I haven't played Minecraft for a while.
Well, I suppose they're updated, but like all of the big mod packs were previously 1.12, I think, and 1.8 that they released mostly.
I don't know. They've had so many different versions of it. I kind of just pick whatever's the newest one. But again, I haven't updated that in forever because I don't have anybody to play Minecraft with. So why would I care? When my boys get older, I'll play with them. But at this moment in time, no reason for it.
It'll be like the Elon cybernetic VR of Minecraft.
I would love something where I could just put like a little headpiece on and I could just warp into a
game. It'll literally
be
like, cool. Did you guys watch Three Body Problem?
I did not know.
A watch? I thought that was a book.
Well, it's a book. Made a show. They adapted part of it.
It was into a miniseries, I think.
Is it a good adaptation or a bad one?
It was okay.
Questionable.
I have not read the book. I've been told by people who read the book it was okay adaptation so far.
Were they vague about this in their terms of service of description for you, or?
But the point I'm getting is, in Three Body Problem, at least there's this super alien, like virtual gaming going on, and that's what Elon is heading towards.
I mean, I would love
put the helmet on, and it'll be like you're really fucking in it, you know.
I would love Sword Art Online or Overlord type style of like going into a game kind of a thing, because then I could actually like do stuff. It would be a different world and with different behaviors and stuff, and maybe even be like the only thing you're aware of is how to log out. But aside from that, you're like, I'm in a brand new world like an isekai.
What was that Bruce Willis movie where he was he like it was like the other side of the Matrix where he just lived in a pod, never left, and just was online all the time.
I don't know.
Like the other side of the Matrix. Like, the Matrix was like the sci-fi of and all that. What's inside the Matrix was outside, where it just was the real example of his body deteriorating to nothing because all he did was go online and be.
Well, I'm not saying that. Like, I mean, I feel like you should be able, if you could make somebody's mind go into a game like that, you should be able to have things and functions for the body to like cause the muscles to constantly be functioning in a way, because like you have like VR stations now that you like strap your back into and you can run in place and take up like no... Oh, I've never seen it. But I could fit right back here and this is a very small corner. It's like 3 arm lengths long, but
Okay.
there's a VR system that's like $3,000 that you can
So
put in here, and you have like these special shoes that slip, but you can still hold your
let me just
gravity and everything. And there's like a backpack that straps onto you, and you basically put on your VR set, and it lets you turn and rotate completely 360 degrees. You don't have to worry about wiring issues or anything. You get your speakers where you need them to be. You can dodge roll, you can jump, you can do all sorts of stuff. So your body's
dodge
actually
rolling seems a bit dodgy.
let me just read these two
it's
sentences.
a bit dodgy, but you can go from like a crouch to like a jump, and then like you it basically lifts you and goes down with you, kind of a thing.
I just want to read two sentences.
But like dodge rolling on the spot is a bit. I mean,
I don't know if it's been perfected, but I know that it allows you to kind of do that kind of thing in a game. I think it's gonna be mostly depend upon accessories for like how it rotates and stuff like that. I don't know the specifics,
maybe.
but as long as that is a thing, even if you couldn't dodge roll and you could just jump, crouch, prone, a whole bunch of things like that, that's freaking cool. But it's also something that's like the best exercise, because imagine running around Skyrim in VR, which they do have, but imagine doing that, but for an exercise program. Like you get like something that like makes your muscles go, and you're like utilizing your body. You're lifting things. You're using your sword, and they could recreate some like strain against you when you're trying to do it. Like in the future, if they could pull that off, that'd be freaking dope.
Be nice,
it's like, yeah, my freaking workout session is fighting dragons in Skyrim.
I'd be up for that.
I just want to read two sentences from the
but let's quickly go back to Minecraft though. Golden Age of modding was 1.7 to 1.12. That's where all the big mod packs were in.
Well, that may be when they first were introduced. I'm talking about like as they like tweak them.
Yeah, but like a lot of them don't have updated versions past 1.12.
Again, I haven't touched it forever. I couldn't tell you what I was on. I think I was like 119 or something.
Yeah, but that's super recent.
I mean, I haven't played Minecraft in like 2 years, so
I'm looking at the numbers, right?
I don't know. I don't have it memorized. I'm just vaguely running off what was in my brain. Anyway,
that's 2023 March.
I don't know. 2023 is 2 years ago. Shocking.
Yeah, but, wow.
Anyway,
still recent.
So yeah, I think one. Okay, we'll quickly summarize all 3 topics. 1, you are in charge of what you do with your game. Somebody else is in charge of what they do with the game. Stop telling other people what they can and can't do in the game. It's not you that they're playing. You're not playing them. They're playing.
As long as I'm not forced to do something that I don't want to, then it's all fine.
And if you are forced to, you can return the game or destroy it or whatever you want to. Like sell it to somebody else, whatever the case might be. It's not going to be your problem.
But I do want my money back.
Well, I mean, sometimes you can't get your money back because you waited too long to beat the game or whatever. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, if for whatever reason you are unhappy with something, just get a different game. Sell it to somebody else. Throw it in a wood chipper like The Last of Us 2 or break it.
There's this thing called outside where there's a sun and a field.
Matt, touch grass. Come on. We're gamers here.
Outside
is full of things called people.
That's why I game. I don't want people.
Well, but that's also inside, right? People live in my computer, right?
I mean, technically, outside is inside the atmosphere. So, and it's also inside the universe. So it's just another room.
Yeah. But people live in my computer. They don't exist outside. That's just a myth.
Until you move here, then you'll exist here in person. Anyway, you control your buttons, you push and everything, but if anybody else tells you how to play a game or whatever, they could shove off. I'm looking at you, MMO metas.
No, MMO metas are actually good, right? Because if you don't use them, then you fuck up your whole team play.
No, it's you're sucking the fun out of playing the game and making everybody miserable playing something they don't want to play or they don't enjoy playing.
Well, that's the goal of the left.
Well, it's just like if I have played games where they're like, you have to use all these extra potions and utility things and whatever, and I'm like, I don't need to use any of that, and I will lose maybe 20 seconds of speed in terms of how fast to complete the entire
maybe
thing.
Early game, but like if you do the
I'm talking late game. I'm talking maximized late game. They say you need to have this. I'm like, you really don't. This stuff does not guarantee your success.
That far, but
no, I'm saying like cooperation with actual players and stuff goes way above extra bonuses and stuff. I'm not saying extra bonuses are bad. I'm not saying don't use them. But if it costs you a lot of money to constantly upkeep them and you don't have the kind of gold or whatever in the game to do that, then don't freaking do it. And people should be okay with that because it's not that big of a deal. You might lose a couple seconds off of a freaking game. Whoopity-doo. But if you're communicating with each other and you're happy with your crew, then stick with it. Your guild should be tougher than nails in that regard, and you should be able to bypass anything whatsoever. But obviously, if somebody's having skill issues, it's not going to be bypassed by a freaking potion. That's just not how that works. So,
unless you're
there's
playing
no unless.
Skyrim and you have a million of those.
I don't use potions in Skyrim.
You
I'm raw talent, baby.
Open the inventory, game pauses automatically. It's great, and you just
realistic, huh?
Yeah.
Touch grass, Sage. That's not how it works.
Maybe if you have some like 20 million cheese wheels in your inventory, that's also maybe.
Have you ever seen the one where every time you kill a monster, it drops like 10 cheese wheels?
No.
And then you just go in, and also they start piling up everywhere. You surround it by cheese
that
wheels.
I have seen.
I've also seen the one where every time you kill a dragon, it spawns 2 dragons.
That seems.
Was it
It's basically Hydra dragons. It just becomes hardcore mode super fast.
First or second
do they
Diablo
not respawn if you kill them with fire?
No. Whenever you kill something, it respawns.
Yeah, but then it's not a Hydra.
No. Like when you kill like when you chop off the head of a Hydra, it sprouts 2, and then you cut those heads off, and it sprouts 2, and then you just keep going and going and going and going. That's my point. It's a mythological creature. Cut it out.
Was it the first or the second Diablo game where there weren't enough points where you could go back to empty your bag, so you literally like piles and piles of treasure and gold all over, killing everything? Do you remember that? Like the whole field, you just see a field of gold.
I'm the crazy guy who's like, I drop it in a chest so it doesn't despawn. I run back to the trader. I do the stuff. I come back. I empty more of the chest into my pack. I run back to the trader. I'm like, I'm getting all that money. That's what I do. And then it's funny because you're carrying like 70 billion pounds of gold, but you don't have inventory for a piece of wood. It's like, that doesn't make sense. But either way, number 2, Nintendo sucks balls because of their terms of service, and the government needs to counter that as quickly as possible because consumer rights.
I'm wondering, right? The EU has the whole privacy law situation.
Doesn't apply.
It doesn't apply because you give consent. That's right.
Which is forced consent, actually consent, because saying you can't use this if you don't consent is not really consent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how that works legally, but
I haven't heard any. There's so few gaming lawyers. I haven't heard anything. So if anybody knows of a gaming lawyer, please post it in the comments below so I can check them out. I want to hear a gaming lawyer's perspective on this, on what the legal proceedings are looking like, because this is just a dick move no matter how I could shake a stick at it. Also, number 3, Minecraft is inputting political messaging in a game that has no political messaging whatsoever.
This is not new.
In Minecraft?
Yeah.
It's new in Minecraft.
I mean, it's that specific message maybe, but
one of the things, I've never heard anything else in Minecraft be that way. It's always been like, smile, have a good time, make sure you take breaks. Like, it's always been something like that.
Things have been in for a long time now.
Like what?
I don't know exactly when, but
like what? Like what? Like what?
Like all the pop-up messages.
I know the pop-up messages. I'm saying none of them have been political.
No, they have.
I don't care about the pop-up message. I care about it being political.
A bunch of them that I remember vaguely looking at back in 2022.
Gay. Well, Notch wouldn't have control of it then, but Notch is calling this evil, and I'm going to be like, yeah, I agree with Notch.
Bad updates past 1.13.
Notch made bank. If I was Notch, I'd go make a like some form of a studio that works on the next Minecraft or something.
Yeah, he said he was going to do that, but then decided not to because of copyright stuff. Because technically, Microsoft now owns.
Well, I'm not saying call it Minecraft. I'm saying just a survival crafter game.
Something different than Minecraft, but still.
It's basically Minecraft, but it's a side thing. Like he takes what he did with Minecraft and says, "I've got money now. I've got FU money now." He's got a lot of money from that because I'm pretty sure it was billions of dollars. And he basically takes that and says, I'm going to make something even better than Minecraft, better than Microsoft can make it, better than any of their studios can do. And I'm going to bring that back over there. And if Microsoft wants it, they're going to have to pay me even more billions of dollars and keep going. Like, as long as he keeps coming up with new ideas that keeps pushing him ahead of them, which is very difficult because corporations are really, really bad at coming up with new ideas and concepts that are intelligent. Sorry, that's just the truth. Executives in suits are not intelligent people. They know how to make money. They don't know how to be intelligent. There's a difference. But yes, those are the 3 topics. Took longer than I was expecting, but that happens. There's all 3 of us here. So thanks everybody for hanging out. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Excuse me, that came out of nowhere. Woo! Like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. Good comment, bad comment, whatever you'd like. Engagement is appreciated. Share if you have any friends or family or somebody, random coworker that you think might enjoy this content. Share it with them, and hopefully they'll enjoy the content. Support DEG mods if you are a modder or a person who mods games or creates games, I guess. Creates mods specifically. And also check out Meta PCs and use code 1999 or something else if you watch Geeks and Gamer Crew or whatever. Just to give them some support. And again, I am not sponsored by literally anyone but myself, and I am not sponsored by myself because I don't pay myself anything. So maybe one day when I can afford an editor. I'd love to have an editor.
I see some links all the way back to 2020 with regards to Black Lives Matter stuff that went into the splash screen intros. So
I'll put it down the record that I'm not okay with that either. But
it's been in there.
I literally said any political messaging should not be there. But that must have gotten missed by a lot of people.
I see one here in 2022. Speak out against injustice and up for equality.
Not a single person who plays Minecraft gives a crap about those when they're playing the game as a child. Guarantee it. Not a single one. They're going to be like, words, click, blocks.
But yeah, basically, this has been happening for a very long time in Minecraft.
Well, not a very long time. That's a very short time, actually.
No, like 5 years.
5 years is a very short time, considering how long it's been since Notch has owned it.
Maybe.
The life of Minecraft existing versus the last 5 years is a very big difference. But either way,
it's a long time when you have an 8 or 9 year old who's been playing the indoctrinated version of the game their entire life.
Yeah, it's a long time for their life, but I'm talking about the life of the game. It's not been that long of a time. But also, if my kid comes to me, Daddy, what's this mean? I'd be like, just ignore it. It doesn't. It means the person who controls the game right now is not very intelligent.
You would say that, yes.
Oh yes, I would. Yeah. I would very much say it.
Majority wouldn't.
I will say that to anybody. But yes, thanks everybody. Thanks everybody.
Not everyone has someone to say that to.
That's why I'm here, and that's why you share these videos, so I can tell them to shove off politics in their gamings. Yeah, there you go.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good ending.
That is a good ending. So,
farewell.
Thanks everybody. Sage, you don't do anything, so whatever. Mr. Matt, anything enjoyable coming up?
Well, it will be after this video posts.
Just give your days that you do your normal stuff.
So on Wednesday, I'm on Wednesday nights overbooked. This week, which is the Wednesday pass for this, we're reviewing W Backlash and we talk about Detective Wrestler Sabu. And then Thursday, Roman of the Empire. This week, I think, is our favorite mob movies. And next week is next week.
Are you gonna pull out all the Tom Hardy movies I've been talking to you about? Because there's so freaking many of them. Holy crap!
Yeah. Next week will be the movie Legion from 2010. The one where the angels came down. And,
is that the one where they're invaded by angels or demons or whatever?
Well, the God had Gabriel lead a second, basically the second the
anti-demonic forces.
No, the whole the next time. Remember in the Bible, God will take the role of the flood and give man a second chance. He will come again and take the role of fire. Was the original prophecy, and then Jesus came to redeem mankind. Remember the whole sequence there?
Vaguely.
Yeah.
Not the specifics. Let alone in the same area.
Well, in the Bible, that's the premise. Like when the biblical flood happened, he gave mankind a second chance.
He also said,
But
"I'm never going to do that again."
He said, no, he said literally at the time, if I have to do this again, I'm going to come with fire, and there's no second chance. But
Fire?
then he came as Jesus and redeemed mankind from
Quick jump in the water
fire.
that we just drowned in. I don't remember that being a thing, but
he redeemed
whatever.
mankind from the fire. The second.
So what you're saying is we should invest in fire resistance potions.
No.
What he's talking about
I'm trying to explain to you the plot of the movie without giving the whole deal away.
He's talking about the Californian brush fires.
Oh, yeah, no, that makes
sense.
Yeah, it
Is
all
that
makes sense now.
God? Something happened where God decided to send the fire anyway, and a special baby was born who was the second coming.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, I mean, maybe later you send me the book and verse, and I will look it up. But I'm not pulling.
You don't remember the whole story of the flood?
The flood does not involve anything after, except I will not do. I promise to never do this again.
No. The promise was Jesus, but there was a promise.
The promise was to never flood the earth again. Was the promise?
Yeah, because if you had to do it again, it would do fire, not the flood.
Maybe, but again, just send me the link, and I'll read it.
I could just go look up the Bible story.
We're trying to end the video, Matt. Tell us what you're doing. Legion, people. He's going to watch Legion. Go to his channel, watch Legion, or go to somebody else's channel that he's on. Legion.
People gave it credit for, but
I heard of it. I never watched it. Didn't interest me, but it is what it is. So yeah, check out those links, channels, whatever they're called, with Matt participating in them. So do that. Thanks everybody for hanging out, and we'll end up closing it here. So thanks everybody for being here, and we'll hope to see you the next time, and maybe catching one of my streams or something. That'd be fun. So remember, my friends, walk in the light.
Farewell.